In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what Codex is, why in my opinion, it's the best coding platform that exists today. It's the best harness. I'm making this video for any beginner that wants to get started with Codex. And in the next 15 minutes, you're going to learn how to become a power user. Here's how you can use Codex better than 90% of the world today. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to open up a Chrome browser and you're going to make a free ChatGPT account. So just literally search up ChatGPT, open it up, sign up for a free account. And then the next thing that you're going to do is look up Codex. And it's completely free. I would recommend installing it and actually running it. You can get it for Mac. I'm on a Mac right now, or you can get it for PC. You can also run it in the cloud, but you'll need a paid account for that. Just download it. It's easy to install and set up, and then you just sign in with your ChatGPT account. Once you're signed in, what it's going to take you to is an interface that looks exactly like this. Now today, all of the coding harnesses that exist, and just for context, what is a coding harness? This is the car, if you will, that is powered by an intelligence model, which would be the engine. That's probably the best analogy that I can think of. So this is OpenAI's coding harness. And so within the coding harness, you get access to all of the OpenAI models. So right away, you're going to look and it's going to seem like a regular chat interface. And so you can start typing, say whatever you want. They have the ability to actually hit the mic, and then you can dictate. And then you can actually swap out and pick the model that you want to use. So in this case, I'd recommend everyone just use the frontier model that they have, which is GPT 5.5, and then I turn reasoning on to extra high. Now, in my opinion, I would say token max, use as many tokens as you can, play with the frontier intelligence that you have available to you within settings. So if you were to open up this toggle on the left here and you go to settings and you go to usage, you can actually see the remaining amount of usage that you have for the given week. I've been using this on a free account and I've struggled to actually make a dent in this. I've rarely ever gotten below 90%, and I'm using extra high thinking, GPT 5.5. I use it nonstop all day. I'm spinning up subagents, and it's impossible to get rate limited on. So that's also one of the main reasons why I think it's amazing to use Codex today, is you can get so far with it without getting rate limited at all. So you saw the settings, you saw the overview. The next few things that I want to talk about here is this plus sign. So you have plugins, which we're going to talk about in a second. You have the ability to add files and folders and photos. You also have access to plan mode. And all plan mode is an ability for you to actually create a plan before you actually build something, depending on what you're using Codex for. If you're trying to build a website, if you're trying to build a strategy document or a mobile app, I would typically say it's better to use plan mode if you're trying to build out a sprint, but it's not always necessary. The other option that you'll have here is goal mode. This is a brand new feature that just recently got taken out of beta. And the idea here is you set a high level goal with some measurable outputs that would quantify the goal being achieved. And then you let Codex just run. And it will take anywhere between 5 to 10, 15 minutes. I've seen people run this for an hour at a time, and it just works as hard as it can until it actually hits that goal. So just an interesting way to kind of use Codex, but you don't need to worry about that. You can just talk to it just like you would ChatGPT. And then we have plugins. So when you get to plugins, you're going to have a lot of the off-the-shelf plugins that come in directly with OpenAI. You can also access them over here on the left for plugins. And you can see all the plugins that exist with third-party providers that have built plugins specifically for Codex. Just to highlight a few that I think are really important to consider. So there's Codex Security. An example of a plugin is really just a breakdown of skills. And I'm not trying to make this so overwhelming if you're a beginner and you have no idea what a skill is, what a plugin is. You don't even need to know about any of that. The simplest way to break it down, like in this example, Codex Security, this is a way for you to turn on Codex Security if you want to do an audit for a code base. So the idea is you can just ask Codex to do a security audit of your code base, but if you turn on Codex Security, it's now going to point the model at these skills specifically that were designed by OpenAI to do a better job with security. So it's just a way to kind of direct the model to use certain plugins versus it just trying to figure it out on its own. So another common one is Vercel. So if you want to build and deploy stuff and actually throw it right to Vercel, you don't need to worry about knowing the Vercel interface. Just set up a Vercel account, integrate it with Codex, and then turn on the plugin and just say, push this to Vercel, and it will literally do what it needs to do to get it onto Vercel. So it just makes things really powerful. Some other ones that I love are like test Android apps. And so what's cool about this is we'll actually use like an emulator QA skill. So we'll spin up an Android emulator and test your actual app to like using the emulator, and we'll scroll through it like a human will. So I think these plugins are just becoming very commonplace, and a lot of the coding harnesses have this, but this is just what plugins are at the end of the day. So just a quick overview of that. We then have automations. And what's cool about automations is you can schedule them or you can ask Codex to schedule them. So for instance, let's just say I wanted to set up an automation for every day at 9 a.m. I get something in my inbox that just says, hey, here's a breakdown of like all the deep research around AI for the last 24 hours. That's an example of like an automation you can set up. Or you can set up one where it's like, okay, I have a bunch of GitHub repos, so like code bases that exist in GitHub, and I want you to monitor them once a month and just look to see if there's any vulnerabilities, do web search to see if there's any exposures, and then just like give me a quick overview of like any of the things that you notice or found for vulnerabilities that we can fix. So again, that's just kind of like a high level overview of the left side. And then we actually have projects. We have like the regular chat, and then you can pin stuff if you actually just want to like sort it, because it can get a little bit messy as you start working on a lot of stuff. The last thing I'll also mention is full access. So by default, it's going to go to default permissions. You also have auto review that you can set up. I just go to full access. Maybe not the best, course of action if you're a beginner, but the idea here is like Codex is designed to be a little bit more conservative. It's not going to do stuff without your permission, but by giving it full access, that's probably like the most freedom that it has within your computer to actually get stuff done. And then you can actually choose if you want to work in a project or not. So when I say work in a project, what I mean by that is like, let's just say I open up my Finder or like wherever you store your documents. And in this case, I created a folder called demo. So there's nothing in here right now. This is just something that I'm going to be using for the example in this video. So now I can come here and click work in a project, select a new project from an existing folder, or I can create one from scratch. I'm just going to call it demo. And I'm going to say, create a quick strategy document that explains the benefits of Codex and why it's different than ChatGPT, and create an HTML file and store it in demo. So now I'm going to let Codex run and do that. And ultimately, it's going to figure this out. It's going to know that we're working within this folder structure demo. And now it's going to create an output, which is known as an artifact, and which is essentially just a file. So what it's actually creating within this conversation, and it's going to store that within that folder. So it makes things very powerful, because let's just say you actually had hundreds of folders within, or rather files within a folder. You can then point Codex at that folder. Like an example I would say for this is like, let's just say you were doing your taxes and you had your taxes, and within your taxes folder, you had every single year and all your documents, financial statements within those taxes. You can then just point Codex to that taxes folder and say, okay, I'm now preparing for my tax this year. Look at all my last year transactions or like my last year tax filings and help me do taxes this year. And then it will go through and break down, probably help you figure out like what you need, what you don't need, some additional documents that might be missing. You can do that for literally anything. So I think that's what makes Codex so powerful relative to ChatGPT, is it's connected right to your actual computers. So it has access to all of your files, and you can point it at a particular file. If you're actually trying to build something, what's great about it too is you can then reference other projects that you've worked on. So there's mobile apps that I have where I want to copy the onboarding scheme, but I just want to like tailor it to this new project that I'm working on. So I'll typically just start it up instead of recreating that from scratch. I'll say, hey, go to this file, find this onboarding flow, and let's mimic that for this app. So now going back to what you're seeing here, you're going to see it's working, it's thinking, it's chain of thought reasoning. You can change this if you want within settings, depending on if you're doing more coding stuff, or if you want it to be less technical language, jargon, and details when it's actually responding. So this is probably more akin to ChatGPT. So if you're actually using this for more practical everyday uses, I would say like turn it on for everyday work. I personally like it for coding, but I use it. You can do both, the same thing with both. This is just more like how it responds back to you. So I really never use the everyday work, but if you're using this for more everyday tasks, that might be more valuable. So now you can see it's completed. It took about 1:43, and it created this strategy brief. So now if you look on the right here, this whole right panel is just going to be like all of the documents, outputs, and everything that we used within this conversation is on the right side. And this is very common whether you're using Anti-Gravity, Cursor, Claude Code, or Codework, and Codex, where it's like this is the format. You're going to have like your files, settings on the left, the chat in the middle, and then on the right is going to be the artifacts for that chat. So now if I see this and I actually go to my Finder, I'll see within demo, it just created this file for me. Now, HTML is just a format that is common for websites, for front end for websites. And I find it to be a very powerful document to request because it's easy for humans to actually read what's going on. And it's a lot more dense and rich, and you can do really interesting formatting to make it more visually appealing versus just like a text document. Because obviously I could have gotten it to create this strategy document and not include any of that. So now I can open it in Chrome, Safari, or I can just use the Codex browser. I'm just going to do Chrome. And it created this beautiful website that just gives an overview of like why Codex matters for software teams. Again, I didn't give it too much direction, but it kind of explains what I asked for, the difference between Codex and ChatGPT, recommended rollout. So again, I didn't give it much to work with. I just kind of gave it an overview of like create this strategy document, and it was able to do that. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is one of the favorite plugins that I have, which is computer use. And what I think is so powerful about computer use is that this essentially gives your agent or your coding agent, Codex, the ability to use your computer and actually browse and move around like a human would. And I just find it to be like the coolest thing. It's gotten so good. It's so fast now relative to what it was when it first rolled out. And what makes it even more powerful is if there are any things that don't have a plugin, you're effectively allowing Codex to still, it's kind of like a makeshift API to be able to still take action on certain things that don't have a native plugin. So an example that we'll do, just because I think it's simple and it's easy for it to understand, is because I know there is a plugin already designed for Gmail. But I'm going to ask it to still send an email just so you guys can just get an idea of what that looks like. So we're going to go back to this chat, and I'm just going to say, awesome, that strategy brief looks great. Can you actually craft an email to myself within Chrome? And I want you to include this document and send it to myself. And then all I'm going to do here is press at, and I'm going to type in computer. You could also just hit the plus sign and go to plugins as well. It's the same thing. I can also just say use computer. Like this is just a more clear way to invoke it within the system, is to like literally call it out so you get the icon and everything. And now I'm just going to let it run. So now what's going to happen is if you actually look at what I have available in Chrome right now, I have these 3 tabs that are open. It should figure it out and know that this is what, like my Outlook, or sorry, my Gmail, and it should be able to send it for me. So we're going to go back to Codex. We're just going to watch it. So first thing that it's doing is reading the computer skill. So it's understanding like the documentation of what it's able to do and how computer use skill works. And then it's going to start taking action. So it could just take a while, but it's usually pretty quick. So it's finding the Mac apps, and it's now going to figure out the best way to access it. So I did reference Chrome, so it should figure out Chrome. And so now it's interesting because like it's opening up Google Chrome. So like it's sending you these little snippet screenshots so I can actually audit it. Okay, interesting. So I can see the signed in account, and it has a tab title such as, okay, yeah, I'll draft the email, perfect. And so it's actually going to go do all of that. And then typically what I'll find is it won't send the email without your permission or another follow-up, even though I have full access turned on. And again, that's just a security measure that's in place. So that way the agent doesn't run rogue and start sending stuff on your behalf without your permission. It's just how the OpenAI team has designed Codex to work. So you can see it's kind of clicking through. It's not drafting the email. I probably should just have this opened up so you guys can see it. And it's clicking through. This is the little browser, or sorry, the cursor rather, that Codex is using. And now it's sending it to myself, Codex strategy brief. And again, I'm not typing anything. I'm not doing anything. This is purely computer use. So you can imagine like all the stuff that we do in like knowledge work today, where you're opening up a platform, clicking around, trying to get something done. In those cases, most companies are going to go the route of actually just creating MCP servers or APIs that agents can then just interact with the platform directly. But in the cases where those companies are laggards, but we still rely on those tools, this is what makes computer use so powerful, is it's able to do all these things. So you can see it just like the way a human would. It's finding the document, it's then going to open it and send it through the email. It blows my mind like how good this is and how effective it is. And then now you can also see at the top here when it's actually activated, so we know that it's working. Typically, it's going to say to me, like I said before, yeah, so the draft is ready. So I'm going to say send now. So now it's going to send it over, and I'll get the response. And then in the meantime, what I'm going to get it up to do is to say, that was great. The next thing that I want you to do is set up an automation so that every day at 9 a.m., you're doing research on all the latest news that's come out of the world of AI, everything around OpenAI, Codex, Grok, like all the news that you can find around AI. I want you to do research on that and then draft it as a file. Let's just say it's an HTML file every time. And then I want you to actually use computer use and send it to me in email every single morning to myself at 9 a.m. So all I'm doing is throwing all that information in, and then now it should actually set up an automation where it's doing this now every morning. And this is an example of like how this tool becomes so powerful, because we are, creatures of habits as humans, and typically what we do are things that are quite repetitive in nature. So you can imagine in your job all the stuff that you do that you could potentially automate. And again, when it has full access to your computer, you can start to really see the bigger picture that this can do literally anything, and you're really just limited by your imagination to a degree. So I would say to everyone, hopefully you learned a lot around Codex, how it works, what you can do. You can build anything. You can build websites. You can build mobile apps. I would say, like, if you're just getting started, pick something very simple. Just make an HTML file. And then if you want to learn how to deploy it, just say like, hey, I want to deploy this on Vercel. I know Vercel is something for deploying. Can you help me set that up? It will literally go on computer use, go to Chrome, help you set up an account, get the API keys, so that way you can set up the plugin, and then now Vercel is going to be connected, and then you can deploy that website to Vercel. And then you're like, okay, well, I want to buy a custom domain, so that way, it's going to like www.lucas.com or whatever. It's like, okay, help me figure out how to buy a domain, and then I want to connect the domain to Vercel. Like, it will do everything for you. You just have to ask and tell it to use computer use and set everything up for you. And it's just so incredible that we're in this day and age where it can actually do all these things perfectly. So it's like done. I created an active local automation called Daily AI News Brief. It will run every day at 9 a.m. and it's coming out of this actual folder structure that we've set up. Research the latest, then use Chrome Gmail to email it, and then I can actually open up the automation to read what it's actually doing. But this is literally what the automation is. It's active. The next time it's going to run is at 9 a.m. And all I did was tell it what to do, and it set up that automation. So you can have hundreds of these automations set up to do anything that you need. It's just an incredible tool. It blows my mind that this exists today, and so many people are not using it. So I hope you learned something today. And if you just stuck through this whole video, I can promise you, you already are in the 90th percentile of people that are using AI. You're an AI power user, and you definitely now understand Codex better than 99% of the world.